Hey, Fusion Church family.
Hey, everyone.
We wanted to take just a little bit of time and do a couple quick videos on a topic that's really important to our heart for our church family. We obviously want every home that calls our church home to put Jesus at the center of their home life and have everything that they do revolve around the Lord. But we really have a passion for our parents who have kids at home to help them to not just be kind of caretakers in their home and raising their kids and taking care of all of their just normal, typical needs, but to actually be spiritual parents to their children, to take some ownership over raising up their kids to follow Jesus. We believe that it's our job, our responsibility as parents to be a living example of what it means to follow Jesus. Not a perfect example, but a living example. And so we recognize that in this season of life right now, there's actually a unique opportunity that we have.
Mm-hmm. And so what we mean by that is we just are obviously aware of the crisis that we are in, this pandemic that we are in. And what we see happening is that things are really being kind of stripped away. Routines and predictable patterns are kind of being upended and turned on its head. And kids who were once in public school are now home with you and you're teaching them. And their normal activities that they were doing have stopped. And so while that can feel very uncertain and very chaotic, we also see it as an opportunity to put some things front and center again and to be able to take this opportunity to really spiritually lead our kids in this time.
Yeah. And we really think that this is a solid biblical concept, that our kids are a gift from the Lord, that they are this tremendous blessing. At least we feel that way most of the time. They are tremendous blessing from the Lord, but then also there is this incredible responsibility that comes with that. And we often feel that responsibility in things like making sure they have food and, getting them to and from school and all those kinds of things. But the spiritual responsibility that we have is really clear in Scripture. So 2 quick examples. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 5-9 says this: "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength." And then Moses is talking to the people of God, and he says this: "These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home, and when you go along the road, and when you lie down, and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them in the door frames of your houses and on your gates." So that's all the way back in the Old Testament. But then the Apostle Paul picks up this idea. He's writing his letter and he's talking to different members of a household. And he says this to fathers, but it could be parents in general. Fathers, this is Ephesians 6:4. "Do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord." And we just see in these passages this incredible parallel that we have a responsibility as parents to take ownership over raising our kids up and instructing them in the way of the Lord. And we see that, we have this incredible value for being in community and having our kids be around other people. We also have this incredible value for our kids ministry and having our kids worship with other kids and learn about the Bible and learn about Jesus in that environment. But I think too many times we use that as a substitute for the responsibility that we have in our home to raise our kids.
Yeah, and I just to give you just kind of a practical or sort of a real world example, if you think about education, if your kids go to public school, you send them off on their day and the bulk of what they learn happens there, right? But also there's a responsibility on our part to communicate that we value education in our home. And all of the research would say, a child is set up best when there's the homeschool kind of connection, when what's happening at school is reinforced at home. And so if that's true in the world of education, then certainly that's true for us in our spiritual development and maturity. And so we just want to take some time to share with you our heart for this, and also just to communicate that we really want to place a high value in our homes, that we want to be the primary disciple makers of our kids, that while we value kids ministry and while we value community, that we don't just relegate their spiritual development to someone else, that we actually take ownership of that.
Yeah, I would say it's like it almost should be flipped. Like, like school, the primary learning happens in some ways. Education happens like while they're doing their classroom stuff.
Right.
As reinforced at home. We want it to be the other way around. When it comes to our kids' spiritual life, we want to be the primary source of spiritual development in their lives, and let that be reinforced by the other things that we're doing as a church. And so that's our heartbeat. And the way that I often think about this is like your kids are being formed by someone or something. Like it is inevitable. Like, so why not be intentional about our responsibility to see our kids formed into the image of Jesus? And so we want to just do a couple quick videos to help you and equip you in that. Just know that our expectations with this are that this is a lot of learning. We're doing this together. We're learning. We don't have it figured out. And we're every day we're learning something new, but we want to pass on what we feel like we have learned and create a vision for what's possible in the future. So we hope you join us in this journey.